So it turns out that Loki really had a demonic form even as a child. Chapter 1001-153 begins with a flashback. It turns out Brogy and Dory were childhood friends of King Harold. It was revealed that Prince Harold came from the bloodline of the ancient giants. Ancient giants were said to be physically gifted with massive strength. They were also said to possess monster-like power. Similar to Loki, Harold grew up arrogant, until we saw him sailing with a few other giants. He was talking about how weak the beings outside Elbaf were. Then suddenly, Oda took us to a kingdom named Bunt. Here, there was a giant being crowded by people. This giant's name was Ida. She was shown inside a cage, scaring people. From King Harold's point of view, when he saw Ida, it looked like she was being forced to perform in a circus. And because Harold didn't want giants to be mistreated, he took action and saved Ida. Aboard the ship, Ida asked in surprise who Harold was. Harold replied that he was the king of Elbaf, and that she didn't need to thank him. But instead of being thankful, Ida slapped King Harold. Harold was completely shocked by what Ida did. Ida demanded that they return the ship, and she asked him to apologize to the people. But Harold strongly refused. That's when Ida explained that she was actually saved by those very same people that Harold attacked when she was injured. And in return for their help, she agreed to perform in the circus. As Ida said all this, she kept hitting King Harold. Ida added that Harold should not call people dolls or puppets. Just because he was born a giant with natural size and strength doesn't mean he should look down on other people. This, she said, is the reason why many people see giants negatively. That's when King Harold was forced to bring Ida back to the people who helped her. At the same time, he helped Ida repair the homes he had damaged. King Harold also apologized to the king of that kingdom for the actions he had taken. In the end, King Harold became friends with the people of the kingdom. This moment was what opened Harold's eyes to the idea that, as a giant, he shouldn't be arrogant. In the next panel, it showed that Ida had joined King Harold as he journeyed around the world. She revealed that she was originally born in the South Blue, specifically the island of Samuanai. Eventually, King Harold invited Ida to come back to Elbaf with him. Timeline check says this moment happened 105 years ago. Upon returning to Elbaf, King Harold immediately announced his intent to travel even more in the coming years. He said he would try to form alliances with neighboring countries. The reason, he said, was so that the giants of Elbaf could expand their knowledge by learning about the culture of other races. In other words, Elbaf would become even more prosperous if they applied the things they learned from other nations. This idea of King Harold was approved by Jarul and Jorul. As for Ida, she said that Elbaf was truly blessed to have King Harold. So King Harold began this vision. He traveled to neighboring countries along with Ida. It showed him trading goods from Elbaf in exchange for what the other nations had to offer. Years passed, and we jumped to 81 years ago in the current timeline. At this moment, King Harold and Ida finally had a child. They named him Hadrudin. Though at this time, King Harold had the intention to marry Ida, the elders of Elbaf strongly opposed it. They said it wasn't allowed because Ida was not a pure-blooded giant. Though they were never married, Ida was fine with that, because to her, their love was more important. Later on, the elders introduced a woman they wanted King Harold to marry. This woman was Estrid. She came from a prominent family and had ancient giant blood. Estrid quickly fell for King Harold and said she was open to the idea of becoming queen in the future. In the next panel, Estrid gifted King Harold a unique horse. It was a gift from her family, named Asura. This horse, she said, brought good fortune. Based on Estrid's actions, she seemed to follow many spiritual beliefs, such as having all the gold and jewelry removed from her room because she said the castle should focus on earth and wind energy. She also declared that from now on, she and King Harold would eat only from silver platters. Anyway, 70 years ago, King Harold was shown arriving at a place called North Star. We'll discuss in our analysis video exactly what this place is. Eventually, King Harold returned to Elbaf. He was shown telling his people stories about the different places he visited on his journeys. One of these places was Fishman Island. He even mentioned the birth of the Prince of Fishman Island, who would eventually become their king, King Neptune. Then 63 years ago, after years of living together with Estrid, they finally had a child, whom they named Loki. When Estrid first saw Loki, she was in total shock. She couldn't believe what her child looked like. He had horns and strange eyes. So she quickly took him and threw him down into the underworld. She also ordered her servants to hide the birth that happened that day. And when she was about to leave to return to her village, one of her servants informed her that the child she threw into the underworld was crawling up the tree of Adam. And yes, we saw the baby Loki, bloody and crawling. Estrid's departure did not push through because she fell seriously ill. But even while sick, she insisted to her servants that the baby Loki should be killed, until she was told about a prophecy saying that Loki himself would one day kill King Harold. And from that day on, all the misfortunes happening in Elbaf were being blamed on Loki. That's when he got his epithet, the Accursed Prince. In the final panel of this chapter, we saw Ida trying to convince Hadrudin to accept his little brother Loki. Meanwhile, King Harold was shown stressed because of his current situation with the world government. And that's where chapter 1153 ends. As usual, we'll talk about everything that happened in this chapter in our next video.